Hi there, me and my friend Fabian again. This time we are doing something on combat and pressure. So this is not so much something that has to do with technique, but with the psychological and physiological posture we need in order to pull off anything. For that kind of thing, since it can easily become very enthusiastic, I recommend you put away every potentially dangerous hardware you are carrying. You don't want that to slip out of the sheath, so you want to minimize your injury risk. The basic idea that we here have is first of all to test what I would call you test for the strong or for the weak side. So this, in a manner of speaking, is a little bit staged because both of my sides through the practice are strong enough. So this time I will pretend. Let's pretend I first do right side front. And basically what Fabian does is he's pressuring me, pushing me away. You see, I'm crumpling. Now we do the same thing with my left side forward. And you see he's pressuring me, and although I'm going backward, my posture is holding, and I can also push him forward again. And his posture is faltering. Point is, of this exercise, normally we have one stronger side and one weaker side. I did this test last time with my wife, there it was not staged at all. Her right side is weak. Whenever she is pushed to the right side, please push me, she is basically just giving in and crumpling. If she is pushed on her left side, she can basically hold it. So she can easily hold the pressure when her left side is front, as can I. And you want to test this. And the next thing you want to do is to move back and forth. Just, I call this my strong side, my left side, the shield side, and this the X side. The whole thing I call the Viking, for obvious reasons. So if Fabian pushes me again, what I do now is I go slowly back, but I keep my posture. As you can see, it almost doesn't matter if I turn sideways or if I square off. And if I now want to do something, I only have to lift him a little bit, and that's all that's needed. Dirty trick, of course, but the point is, it has all to do with posture. If my posture would be faltering, no dirty trick in the world was going to help. So the whole idea is not crumpling in. This is the one pressure test. The next thing you do, again, if he's pressuring me forward, what I get used myself is to use the other hand to do hammer fists. So basically the idea is just dealing with the pressure he is giving me. If he isn't giving me any pressure, I'm going forward, doing also the footwork, and using then the other hand. This is just slapping, we are friends, just to get used to use the other hand. Of course, if he is going in for the shoot, then you can do a lot of stuff from there. But you see, my hand almost slipped in the choke out of itself. I didn't actually do something. It is all to do with the pressure. The shape is pretty much what in Wing Chun is a folk Sao shape. Wing Chun uses it more like this, but the shape is the same. And normally what I do is I have the elbow here on the chest and the hand here behind the head. I can also have it like here, if you want to see it. In both cases the arm is a little bit diagonal. So he actually would have to break this part of my arm, almost no muscle involved. I can keep the pressure. So what we do is we just deal with the pressure and get used to using the other hand to do smashings. Now this in and of itself, of course, won't win any fight, but if you don't have this ability to deal with the pressure, any technique that you have won't be useful at all. You won't be able to pull anything off. And this is what I call the shield pressure test, or what you could almost call a static pressure test. We will now go for a cut and do something more dynamic, which involves me standing in a corner, because there is another kind of pressure. I mean, what we have here is almost static pressure. We are glued together, and although we are doing some steplets, nothing much is going on. You see, we pretty much stay in place. This is only learning how to stay in place. And all this only possible because I can withstand the pressure that is directly going into my frame. So this is a very literal translation of pressure. Now we will demonstrate another kind of pressure that can be put on a fighter. And for this we will have to make the cut and readjust the camera. See you after the adjustment. Okay, the next kind of pressure is speed and attacking pressure. And the idea, I'm standing deliberately in the corner. So I cannot go back, I cannot really go left nor right. I could go forward or I could stand my ground. The idea is he is attacking me basically with boxing attacks. We are limiting this for the sake of the video to the upper arc. So boxing attacks, no kickboxing or something like this. Just upper attack, and he is just swinging whatever, first slowly. But the idea is I have to put up with whatever he is throwing at me, and I'm not able to in any way get away. Of course, this is working my defenses overtime, because nobody would only be on the defensive side. So again, this is a drill to teach you how to deal with pressure. I return the favor. You actually don't start out as enthusiastic as you've seen it right here. You start out much slower so that he has a chance to get used to what you are doing, and you get faster over time, and also over time you get closer, and you see pretty much very fast gets rather enthusiastic. And of course many of you will say, it's just slap boxing, but the point is, maybe it is slap boxing, but you can't go backward, nor left nor right. You have to stand your ground. And there is something else in this drill. If we change positions again, if he comes again and starts to come close to me, sooner or later, as you see, this starts to become from speed pressure that he is putting on me with constant attacks to something where I jam him, and all the nice flow drills, the cheese-how drills, the push-hand drills, the other drills come into play. And suddenly it is no longer the nice rehearsed drill. Suddenly you practice how to use all that kind of stuff. There are two basic ways how to deal with that kind of pressure. Will you come again, please? The one is, I always try to zone to zero pressure, which basically means if I cannot go left or right, I have to outmaneuver him on the spot. Or the other way is if you have the dummy in your back. If he comes again, I really have to go forward. And the idea behind these both practices, the shield practice, where I am in contact and we go back and forth, or the practice in the corner, is to get you used to the idea of not constantly backing down. Because if he is attacking me and I have just a natural reflex, my natural reflex is to go back. Again, and back, again, and back, and back. And now, if I'm not used, there is nowhere back. My reflexes are out, and I'm done for. So this is to make going back something that you can do, but not something that you automatically do. I think those of you who do street fights and those of you who fight in the ring or boxing know the value of this. Boxers have a lot of corner fights, and the Malay guys have a lot of drills that are against the fence for good reasons. And now I'm going to discuss a little bit about how you could utilize dummy practice, because you have not always a partner with whom you can practice enthusiastically. And now we'll make another cut so we can have a mobile camera, because right now what you see is again filmed from the tripod. See you after the cut.
Okay, on.
Good. So now one way to practice this on the dummy is actually not to take the dummy up front, but rather to go on the side of the dummy. And you constantly exercise pressure with your shield hand, even to the really pressure. And then you are basically slamming the dummy. Slam, hammer fist, fist, elbow, hammer fist, hacksaw, chop, and always exerting pressure on the dummy. The idea is exert pressure, exert pressure, exert pressure. The other way how to practice this is to go to the door frame, exert pressure, 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 and bashing and slamming your door frame. Elbows, slaps, hammer fists, slaps, hacksaws. So the idea is always to go forward with a shield and do something with this hand. Now the problem is if you do this only in thin air, this is the motion you have. And if you do this only in thin air, you will have a tendency to take the left hand back, which takes the pressure off. Therefore you need something. You see, the movement is the same, but my hand never actually leaves the door frame. So I'm constantly pressuring. And that is something that you can emulate, only very difficult when you do the air dummy. So while this is better than no practice, this going back and forth, which is part of the body dynamics, is actually hindering you in getting the feeling for the pressure. Also, I would recommend you do this kind of dummy practice only once you have done it on a person, so you actually know what it's all about. If you do this kind of dummy practice first and the person practice later, you will develop bad habits. So this is really something to help you out if you already have the practice on a person. You could also just practice on a wall. So this is a little bit that like the Thai boxing drills, where you... A ghost in the machine? No. Where you embrace the heavy bag, only that you don't embrace it, you are leaning on it. Only you are leaning in such a way that if you take away the foot, and if you take away the hand, you still got balance. But it's basically crushing in and hammering, and getting yourself used to use the full body when you do this, and always exert pressure with your shield hand. Also, since if you are a seasoned martial artist, that may be baby shit to you. If, however, you are new to this whole game, let's say you are a female who wants to learn to protect herself, then you will probably freak out if you have to do something like this at close quarters to a guy. And this freaking out is something you have to get over with. So this exercise also helps you to deal with the psychological pressure. As you can see, it's all gross motor skills, very gross in fact. But if you pull that off, you have something to fight back with, and you have something, literally a solid basis, one that can deal with the pressure from which you can deliver techniques. So to show that this is not only just nice talk, the last cut will bring us back to the lawn, and I will show that it is possible to deliver nice techniques from this as well. So it is not only gross bashing, but this being able to handle the pressure and doing the gross bashing, in my eyes, is what enables you to pull off the rest. Okay. Cut. So, the last thing to go is, I will receive some surprise attacks from him, please. And first of all, I just go forward, and that's it. Just so that I get used to getting surprise attacks from close in. And you see, I can get nailed and stuff. This is secondary right now, because right now we are just training to do the surprise, to do the first reaction. Once we got that done, again, we immediately train to go in, and you already start to see where this is going to. Again. We go forward, exert pressure, and basically the idea is we don't give him time for anything. Later we would, I don't know if the camera shows this, have the foot traps here, And now one thing to show that this is not entirely gross. Slow first, come with an attack. Let's say he is able to block this. We circle it out and come in again. And this is where our Hubert-Lubert drills and that stuff comes in very handy, and where the automatic reflex is good. Again, please. So, it is still very gross. It is just, instead of a hammer once, an open hand, like swimming. And since it has to do with swimming, water, shield, and axe movements, I call this whole thing the Viking. There are similar techniques in many martial arts. I hope... God, bullshit. I think that was it for today. So, willst du noch was zeigen, oder? Oh. Okay, so we are done. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day. Cut. One thing you may find. Guckst du mal, ob man es auch wirklich sieht?
Ja.
This is what you get if you train on the wooden dummy.
Geh ein bisschen zur Seite, es ist gerade im Kameraschatten, genau. Hier.
This is what you get if you do very enthusiastic practice on the dummy and overlook the pain signs. Normally I would have done this with a long shirt on. This time I did it with only my t-shirt, and that is what you get from it. But it wouldn't be called a martial arts, even every now and then some bruising would go on. Now that was really it. Thanks. Cut.